Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode on Food and Mood Talks on the series of Eating from Our Empowered Selves with registered dietitian Gabrielle. So happy to have you back.
So excited to be here again with you, Sarah, and with everyone listening, so we can really help people better understand how to become empowered while taking a holistic approach that really combines. Our goal is to combine the science-backed personalized nutrition and also the psycho-spiritual side, which is where a lot of Sarah's expertise comes in, to better understand our eating habits, behaviors, and to optimize mind-body health.
Yeah, so we want to be able to give you the tools for you to feel empowered when you're eating. So it's not about fighting ourselves anymore, but to come back to our understanding what our cravings are really telling us because they're messages. So to really understand how our compulsions or how our eating difficulties are bringing us back to wholeness. And we want to be able to give you all the information and the tools for you to be able to do that at your own way.
Exactly. The information and the tools, because information's great, but then what do we do with that information? And that's what we're hopefully here to help navigate. Today's topic is going to be really on finding our empowered path through our shadow. So through the Empowered program, and anytime I work with clients one-on-one or in group setting, we really work to figure out what our ego is telling us and how it shapes our life along with our shadow. And we do that through different exercises, because when you're becoming that empowered self, we talk about your physical body and yes, nourishment and making sure we're moving our body, drinking the water, doing all the things we know we need to be doing. That's, your physical body. Then we have our environment that's really important. But the top of that pyramid is your mind, and understanding where our thoughts, actions, and behaviors are stemming from, because a lot of it has to do with the mind, but also combining it with the body, and that's that mind-body approach. So through the Empower program, when I work with clients, we do exercises such as self-awareness questionnaires, like how well do you know yourself? Because a lot of times you don't even realize that we don't know ourselves. We are so detached from ourselves. Our mind and our bodies are so detached that we don't even know where our current life actions, thoughts, behaviors are stemming from, or maybe where our beliefs stem from. Better understanding where our beliefs that have to do with our body or our food stem from. Is it family? Is it spiritual? Is it based on religious, aspects of our life? Is it based on schooling? Where are these body beliefs and beliefs around food stemming from? Just so we can better understand ourselves. That's step number one. And then working through them. So when we're working through them, we often do exercises like part X, which is you get to know that little voice that comes in your head, that little voice that comes in and either helps you succeed or holds you back. So it's just becoming aware of that part X, we call it, understanding how to reframe part X and knowing that part X will always be there, and who part X is and where part X came from. And then understanding our physical habit self. So better understanding what habits are we even stuck in right now, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. So long story short is we talk about creating sustainable change always. Everyone wants sustainable change. Everyone's sick of the quick fixes and the diets and the start and stop programs, right? So in order to make real sustainable change, which is the goal of both Sarah and I's work for all individuals, is to make sure that we are getting to the root of our thoughts, actions, and behaviors. And we're going to touch upon a topic that has to do with Enneagram and typing sessions with Sarah today, because that is a really important tool, like we talk about, the tool to turn this knowledge into action, to understand where a lot of these thoughts and beliefs and actions are rooting from, and then how to best build tactics to overcome these habits, routines, and thought patterns so that you can reach that healthy, empowered self. It's the Enneagram and the work that Sarah's going to touch upon in a moment. It's a map that shows us where we are right now and the potential we have, because we have two paths we could take. The potential where we continue to live on autopilot and continue going in this rabbit hole of bad thoughts, actions, and behaviors that get us feeling worse and worse, or the path that is going to lead us to empowerment. So I will hand it over to Sarah to show a lovely presentation she has. And Sarah, I want to hear a lot more about what the Enneagram even is, and why do a typing session? What is it going to help us figure out about ourselves, so that we can choose the best path forward for each individual person.
Yeah, I love that. And I really think that this is really cool because we're not just filling in the gaps, right? Like you're coming from personal experience of like, I'm struggling with my clients with this because where is the root? And here it's like it really shows us like it's a beautiful map. And I'd like to start off with this quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. And this is amazing because life is going to take us in so many different ways. But by getting a better idea on where our struggles are and where our soul is really calling us to take us there, like us having a path is just such an inspiring thing for me. And this is why I can't stop learning about this. It's a forever learning experience because we can relate to the Enneagram to so many different things. I'm going to share my screen
It
now.
makes you not feel so lost, right, Sarah? Because you have a path and you better understand yourself and where you're going, which is so important. That's even why I do like the pyramid for the Empower program, because if you're just doing stuff and hoping for the best and doing all the guesswork, it's like, well, I hope this works. And when it doesn't, or when something stressful happens, you just fall apart and you give up because you don't know why you are where you're at or where you're going.
Right. And the crazy thing is that like our egos keep on taking us back to the same place,
Mhm.
which is a place of safety when we were kids.
Mhm.
Not anymore. Now it's like we're living with tiny shoes, right? Like we need to keep on shedding. And to be
Mhm.
able to keep on shedding, we also need to befriend ourselves because when we keep on seeing our traits as the enemy, we're never going to be able to come from a place of growth. We can't hate ourselves into weight loss. It's impossible.
Nope.
Impossible. Yeah. So this is going to be like a short introduction because again, it's so complex. And I love the fact that it's so complex because quick fixes and like all the pop psychology stuff, they don't work sustainably. So just a short introduction. Okay. Can you see
Yes.
the screen?
Looks great.
Okay, perfect. So, what does the Enneagram mean? So, Ennea is the Greek word for nine, and gram is symbol. So, it's a symbol with nine different numbers. Um, and the circle shows unity. So, it shows how we're all connected, and it describes nine aspects of the human psyche as personality types. So, nine different ways of seeing life, nine different lenses, which we're going to go into a bit later. So, as a map of our psyche, it's a personality resource for growth and transformation. And it shows our internal mapping to reveal why we think, feel, and behave in particular ways. Because we already know that we do, but why? So, it's a complex and meaningful symbol that relates to many different systems of knowledge, including psychology, cosmology, mathematics. It's kind of a way of describing how the universe works. But then we applied it, well, Claudia Naranjo applied it into psychology, psychological realm. And we use it as a psycho-spiritual model, which lays specific paths of self-development. It helps us wake up to ourselves by revealing the habitual patterns and blind spots that limit our growth and transformation. So that like the two paths that you were talking about, Gabrielle, like the path of autopilot, which is the path of the walking dead, like the zombie walking, or the path of waking up, which is our empowered selves. Like what is it really that we need to wake up to? And the most important thing for this is awareness, right? It's not about striving for more, it's about being aware of what our patterns are telling us.
Because everyone's patterns are all so different. And that's why a one size fits all program, diet, whatever it might be, it never works because everyone is so different. And this work is not the easy work. It's, yeah, everyone wants the meal plan and the exercise plan that's going to help them look their best. But the thing is those things might work for a month and then they're going to crumble and fail because you didn't do the work of self-awareness. You didn't do the work of understanding your current habits, thoughts, actions, behaviors, where they're stemming from, and then creating real change. So this work is a little bit stickier than the quick fixes, but it's what really truly works and truly gets you to a point where, yeah, you you feel like you look your best, but you also feel your best spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And that's true health right there. Uh,
Exactly.
well, Sarah, could you briefly just introduce, well, first, I guess, how do you even figure out what type you are?
Yeah, okay. So the funny thing about this is that like we're trying to shed a light on our egoic patterns, right? Like our character patterns that have formed when we were infants that are so strong and not just rigid, but they're flexible. Our ego is like a chameleon, right? Like we can adapt to whatever situation because it's helping to keep us alive. So the thing is that we can read books on the Enneagram, we can watch talks and all of that. And it's great to like get an overview. But the thing is that we can relate to a type because we like it or it's
Mm-hmm.
convenient or it's comfortable. And that's what happened to me initially. And so it's a really ongoing journey of figuring out what type we are. The way that I work with the Enneagram is that first, I send my clients a test for them to do. They complete the test. I get the results and prepare some questions based on that, differentiating questions, because it's here we're not looking at the behaviors, we're looking at the motivations, right? So it's like a person can need to have their house clean because they think that cleanliness is godliness, for example, and that like that need for perfection. Or another person needs to have their house clean only when people come because they're scared about how other people are going to perceive them. So the house being clean is a trait that we can all like something we can all focus on, right? But why? Like what's driving that? What's fueling that? So then I ask these differentiating questions, like really get into the experience of my clients. And then from there, like that's a typing session. And then we can continue on to like how they relate with this type and looking at their childhood patterns, at their goals, like what is it that they want from these sessions. But it's really about, I think like it's a very delicate process because we're not wanting we want to confront the ego, but we don't want to fight against it. So we want to look for that sweet spot where it's really uncomfortable, like knowing, oh my God, can I actually be this type? It makes me feel very uncomfortable, but it's not the one that's like, oh my God, I hate it so much. Like it just really depends on how we're relating to it. You know, we want to feel seen. And for me, that is the key, that it's like, oh my God, I know this feels disgusting, but it feels so true to me.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not just like an easy quiz, figure it out and change your life. It's you got to peel back the layers of the onion, which is what your expertise is. But then not only peel back the layers of the onion of really figuring out who you are and why we are the way we are, but then how can we prevent it from holding us back, and how can we utilize it to be successful? So it's not that it's all our bad habits that are stemming from these different types. Our good habits and our good ways of thinking and being are also. So how can we utilize it to become empowered, and then how can we make sure we don't allow it to hold us back, right?
Exactly. And another great thing about the Enneagram is that we see all of these different nine types. And my approach, the way I love to see it is these are all resources, right? Like the way of looking at life, when we can understand there are so many different ways of looking at life and like clearly understand it, it's like, wow, actually, this really inspires me. And then moving out from our shell, like we can go there because it's a circle and it's a dynamic symbol, right? So we can move around. It
Mm-hmm.
actually started off with dances. Like it's a very mystical symbol. Like it started off with dances, like showing the patterns of the universe. So it's really interesting to see how these are all at our disposition. Like it's a buffet of different personality types, and it's also ways that we use to fool ourselves into staying asleep, because staying asleep could be so much more comfortable than waking up. But the only way out is through. And I'm sure that this is why we're all here, right? Because we find juiciness in this. And we need to find a way out because right
Right.
now maybe it's just too much.
We need to find a way to wake up, but we need to find a way to wake up into our best lives and to feel our best. And because I think a lot of people are choosing the path of staying numb and staying asleep because it's comfortable, right? And
Yeah.
so it's stepping out of our comfort zone, getting ready for discomfort. But I always say chase the discomfort, because when you are uncomfortable in a healthy way, of course, then you are getting better and you are succeeding and you are becoming more aware of who you are and who you can be, which is scary. but it's exciting. So it's all about mindset too, of how you look at this type of work. And like you said, if you're here watching this, then we know you're ready for this too.
Yeah. And before I explain all of these different types, like just keep in mind for whoever's watching, just be really open-minded, maybe with curiosity to see like, how is this trait or how is this manifesting in my life? Not necessarily which one am I, but just like how you can relate with it, right? Just to see like how what is this lighting up in me, because again, we want the discomfort to be just for awareness, not for needing to do something. Come on, fix me. That's not it. Like that's just another neurosis. It's about being aware.
It's
Just
all
like
about curiosity. I think the goal is to just stay curious and don't be critical. Don't
Mhm.
use these tests or these readings and better understanding you and who you are as a way to criticize yourself or how you are. Use it as a way to get curious of it all and how you can use it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, exactly. Because curiosity is the path of growth. Okay, so we will start off with the body types, and then later on, like, and maybe in another session, we can describe. So we have the body types, which is the 8, 9, and 1. And then we have the emotional types, which is 2, 3, and 4. And then 5, 6, and 7 are the mental types. So that's also really important to see, like, how do I resonate more? Because we can have, like, for example, 7 and 2 are very similar, but 2 is emotional and 7 is mental. So they're different. So the body types are 8, 9, and 1. So the first part where the mirror is, this is our ego ideal. This is how we want to be perceived. This is how we want to be seen by ourselves and by others, and what we think that we project onto the world. And then the glass is our worldview, because again, they're different. There are 9 different lenses of seeing the world. And down here is by a book called The Enneagram of Eating, where she gives them kind of titles of how the Enneagram relates to our eating behavior. So I will start introducing type 8, which is the powerful person. So the powerful person wants to be seen as always invincible and forceful, never weak or cowardly. And the worldview is that the powerful take advantage of the weak, and I must change this. So if you notice, like this, when we see ourselves that way, always invincible and never forceful, this becomes our cage. Like I can never be weak. Like that's just not a possibility. So whatever triggers me to like feelings of weakness, I completely shut them down, and then my neurosis starts showing up. I close off, and then I start using my defense mechanisms, which we could also talk about another day. And when the powerful take advantage of the weak, and I must change this, this is where the focus of attention goes. So then by bringing awareness, but when we know this, we can start bringing some awareness and then open room for something else. So this is type 8, and they call it the binging bully or the forgiving feaster.
Hmm.
Type 9, the peaceful person. So always easygoing and accepting, never pushy or ambitious. Everyone deserves to be respected and heard, and I must enable this. So here it's all about harmony, wanting always to keep harmony. Don't shake the waters, keep everything good. And this can also be a reason for the type 9 to merge and not feel a sense of self, and always forgetting themselves spiritually, mostly, as the sluggish scoffer or the serene health seeker. And these names, I think I find them fun because, like, also see like what shows up inside of you when you see these titles. Just notice.
So would type 9 be the type of person, because I see this a lot with clients, that they always put others first and they deprioritize their needs. And that leads to them going on autopilot for years and years and years because they don't pay attention to their needs, or I guess vocalize, communicate, and express their needs.
Well, okay, it could be. So I think most of the types could have like not wanting to see their needs. For the type 9, how this shows up is that they don't want conflicts. So by preventing conflict, that's how they prevent seeing their needs, because like that's their need, to not feel conflict.
Okay.
But for example, for another type, it could be like, I don't want to show my needs because I don't want you to know that I have needs.
Yeah.
It's about the pride thing. So
So
it can
it's
be
like why they are deprioritizing themselves. And for
exactly.
the type 9, it would be that they don't want to inconvenience anybody else and they don't want to cause issues with whatever the situation is or scenario is.
Yeah, yeah, it's really about like avoiding conflict and that heatedness, you know. It's really about everything stays smooth, you know,
Yeah.
and it's about a lot of repression. So type 9 also has a lot of like repressed anger, but they can't contact it. Like it's just they're numb to it.
Okay.
But
That makes
there's so
sense.
much power. And that's the cool thing about the Enneagram, because like you know how the trees, the roots go down and then the leaves go up, right? But like they have so much power because nines could be so fierce. Like actually my trainer of the Enneagram, she's a type 9 and she's a Wolverine, you know. So it's really amazing to see how it has two sides to it
Okay.
when we're growing in it.
Hmm.
And type 1 always wants to be the good person. So always moral and responsible, never bad or mediocre. So this is a lot of perfectionism, you know, a lot of like they also call it the reformer, because like they feel this need to find perfection and to fix whatever is imperfect. So yeah, the worldview is the world is imperfect and I must perfect it. And again, this is at whatever cost, you know? So this puts us in a place of fight or flight when it doesn't feel organic and when we're a bit like disconnected from our centers and our empowered selves. So as the self-righteous sinner and the selfless saint, you know, that could be like the eating behaviors of a type 1.
Okay. And this might present in something like disordered eating patterns so that you're constantly striving for perfectionism.
Exactly. And it could be like orthorexia, you know, like always needing or where the source of this is from, or does this have like, I don't know, anything that can affect my health, or how is this for the environment, you know, save the whale, save this. So it's a lot about really
Yeah.
kind of like actively making the world perfect how they see it.
Okay. Wow, I love that. Okay, and I mean, because I have so many questions of how, of course, because I want to know more and more about how this correlates with people's eating habits, behaviors, body image, because it just makes so much sense. And again, it helps us all better understand where our thoughts, actions, behaviors around food and body image choices come from. And so I would love for you to give me and anyone listening a better idea of how these different types really, and you might not even be done talking about the different types, so I'm so curious and I can't wait to hear more about how they impact our relationship with food.
Yeah, definitely. And so, what I'll say now is that when we can understand ourselves, we can see, because I think that we said it in probably one of the first episodes of how we do food is how we do life, right? Like how we relate with food and our bodies is how we're relating to life and relationships. So it's kind of like a gateway, you know? It's like it's like the or like our eating challenges or like the playground of the psyche, right? Like it's showing us what's going on. So the way that we can either use it to heal our relationship with food, and also using our relationship with food to help us see like how we're relating with ourselves, with others, and with life.
Okay, I love this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we will come back to like explain what you're asking, because that's an amazing question and this is really why we're here.
Yes.
So type 2, 3, and 4, this is the emotional types. This is the emotional triads. And so starting with type 2. So type 2, the ego ideal is the loving person. So always thoughtful and generous, never selfish or insensitive. And the worldview is the world is full of suffering and I need, okay, the world is full of suffering and needs. I must help alleviate this. So they're very nurturing, you know, they are super empathetic. They know what other people need, you know, they're very present with others
Mhm.
and very big entertainers, you know, they love feeding. This is a very
I
much
was gonna
mother.
say this type must love making food of their own and giving it to loved ones.
Definitely. It's a lot about entertaining. And so it could be the giving gorger or the humble helper.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because just to make it a little bit more complicated, add a little bit of spices, there are also subtypes. So like we have like our instincts, right? So we have like the self-preservation, we have the sexual, and then we have the social. So depending on what type we are, and then when we realize what instinct we are, it's going to manifest differently, because if you see here, the giving gorger, it's much more active and like proactive, and the humble helper is much more like, oh, like I'm helping you, like more serene maybe. So this is why they could be so contradicting, even though they're the same type. Because again, 7 billion people in the world, 9 types. You're like, what? Like we're just 9?
Right,
No,
right.
like they're just like the pigments, right? Like white, red, but there's an infinite amount of different like color combinations, or like
Right.
within each color. The type 3, so this is the effective person, always professional and competent, never idle or inadequate. And there is a lack of order and flow. I must organize and plan to make things happen and get results. So very results oriented,
Mm.
very much about efficiency, very much about putting my emotions aside, even though this is the emotional triad, but because they need to get things done. Also
Mm.
quite competitive, and really good at business as well. Like when they set their minds to something, they usually achieve it, because like this is what their ego needs. Like they need to achieve, they need to get the respect from the people that they admire.
I have clients who come to me, and it's funny because you see patterns, and I'm sure they have similar types or, subtypes or whatever, but they come to me and they all this type in my head comes to me really, really obsessed with growth in their career, and they put work kind of above all, and they work crazy hours throughout each day, throughout the week, and they care about climbing the ladder and achieving more and more and more at work, and they always typically want the quick and easy fix from me in terms of, can you just give me a meal plan? How many times do I have to exercise a week? How do I get to reach my most confident self, so that I can almost do even better in my career when I feel better in my physical body? So I have a lot of people who come to me with that mindset of just wanting the quick fix, and they just want to see results, and they want it to be efficient. So just like they are with their professional life too.
Amazing. Yeah, to see that. And definitely. And also, the thing is that many times what they actually need is to relax in their professional
Mm-hmm.
life,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so stimulated. And this is going to be
Yes.
something. So, whatever meal plan you give them, it's just going to disappear, right? It's going to go into the fire of their work life. And yeah, this could be a trait of type 3, but it could be a trait of any.
Right.
Whenever we're in that fight or flight response, it's just like, just save me. I can't do this anymore. Just
Yeah.
save me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. They want to stay numb, but they want to stay numb while they then get the results at the same time, which is not possible.
Yeah.
And so when these people do ask me for a meal plan and exercise plan, I say, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that to you, because that is going to fuel the fire. That is going to make you further detached from your body and from yourself. And maybe it'll work for a short period of time, and then it'll come crashing down because you skipped over all of the self-awareness work that is so necessary.
Yeah. And for all of you eaters watching this, it's like, if when you listen to this, also know that when we're in so much stress, like this is going to be so normal. We just want whatever solution, and we want it quick because we feel hopeless, right? And the most important thing, first of all, is before knowing our type, before anything, it's about being able to relax. Like this is the most important thing, because when we can relax, everything kind of starts, we can start seeing things clearly, but also understand that the reason why you can't relax is also really valid, right? Like it's also really valid. It's a whole journey. So that efficiency, because I've been there. This is also why like I'm just like speaking to myself as well, because it's like when there's so much stress, it's like anything, just fix me right now. And again, like for us to embark on the journey, we first need to know that it's valid, like the reason why we're so stressed out, and also keep on coming back to our empowered selves and know that
Yeah.
our ego does what it does to stay kind of.
Yeah, no, I love that, Sarah. It's so valid. And sometimes I get frustrated with clients and I'm like, no, we need to do the self-awareness work. You need to slow down. But then I do, because I've been there myself too, where numbing yourself is just the easier path to take. And we're just so much, we deal with so much in life, and we just want things to be easy sometimes. And I get that. We all get that. And you have to have grace for where your current thoughts, actions, and behaviors are stemming from, and they are all valid. And it's okay. And a lot of this work, like we're talking about, it's for curiosity, it's for self-discovery, it's for having grace for yourself. It is not to be critical on yourself, because just criticizing yourself based on all of the traits you pull from your type isn't going to do any good. It's for curiosity and to better understand, okay, this is why this way of eating or this diet didn't work for me. And that's okay, because it wasn't made to work for me. And now I'm going to create this path and this journey based on all the self-development work that we're introducing to you, to create your own path that nobody else is going to take but you, because it is your path to feeling empowered and to feel your best.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you know what to offer them, right? Like it's not about being rigid and like, okay, fine, I'll give you a meal plan. It's like
Yeah.
you also like having that like delicacy to know, like, okay, like this is not what you need right now, even though that's what you're asking for.
Right. No, and Sarah, this is why I am so excited to have these conversations with you, to share with the whole world, because and especially even the clients I work with one-on-one or in group setting, because this type of work is so important. I wasn't doing this type of work before. Then when it was introduced to me from you, it's just so eye-opening, and it's almost just another resource, like you said, to better understand yourself and better build that path for yourself.
Yeah, oh, I'd love this. Yeah, and the third one from our emotional triad is type 4. So the ego ideal is to be the original person, so always unique, always creative and authentic, never ordinary or boring. There is a deep despair that comes from our lack of connections. I must reestablish these. So this shows up as like the moody muncher or the creative connoisseur, right? Because they need to create meaning from everything. Everything is art for them, and drama is art for them. And a lot of times our relationship with food is very dramatic. And is it dramatic because there's something going on, or is it dramatic also because this is part of our way of seeing ourselves? I cannot be boring. I can't just have a meal and then go do something else. I need to fixate on why this meal was good, why it was bad. So like this is really interesting to see like our dynamic with how we're eating.
That's so cool. Such a cool perspective that I didn't really ever think about.
Mm. And then we're moving to our last triad, which is the mental triad. And so it's type 5, 6, and 7. So type 5 as the wise person, always knowledgeable and autonomous, never emotional or transparent. And the worldview is that my resources are scarce, and I must conserve my time, energy, and knowledge, or I will be entirely depleted. So like this feeling of constantly being invaded, and that's why they need to like be very scarce with their energy of what they're sharing, very much into themselves. Like even in the picture here, you could see the newspaper is like hoarding like everything, right? Like it's just like a very much like incubator kind of lifestyle. Known as the neglectful nosher or the ruminating relisher. And yeah, type 5 is very interesting because it's also like the mystic philosopher, right? And it's very much about knowledge, right? About going deep into a subject and having like maybe big readers, and so I tend to see less type 5s in my client space. But yeah, I don't know. For me, type 5 really inspires me, and I guess that's the really cool thing about the Enneagram, right? Like it's about when a type inspires you, it's like, oh, I can also go there. I can also go into like that feeling of self-sufficiency, right? Like not constantly seeking other things. And for them, like their relationship with food could be very much like very, very like meager, very frugal, like frugal resources.
It's interesting too, because with the always looking to be educated on something or wise on something and knowledgeable, and knowledge is power, it totally is. But there's also, and then correlating into like modern times with all of the information that's out there in the media right now, with like TikTok and Instagram reels and influencers that really don't have any sort of nutrition or backing to be speaking on what they're talking. And then people with this type maybe feed off of constantly being educated from podcasts and videos and TikToks, but then if all that person is doing is focusing on the knowledge and not then bridging it to action, or maybe they're soaking in all of the misinformation, that also causes trouble too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And as you're speaking, I'd say maybe this is the way I would see it, maybe not so much of a type five, because type fives go very deep into a subject and they do a lot of research. So it's
Okay.
very much, and they could get a bit arrogant on like the information because they tend to know a lot.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So instead of the superficial, they go very much deep into
Mm,
subjects and yeah, very introverted. Yeah.
love
Yeah,
that.
but
Interesting.
that's such a good point. Yeah, for sure. And type six, the loyal person, always reliable and consistent, never untrustworthy or difficult. So the world is an unstable, unpredictable place. I must find meaning, stability, and support. So
Mm,
this could be as the fight or flight feaster or the courageous culinarian.
mm,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, they're very, very loyal people. And again, like the thing is, a word loyalty can mean different for different people, right? So it's how we relate to that word. So like my point here is that when they see that, oh, you were not loyal to me, then they can completely shift. But it's the important thing is to realize, like, where am I coming from? If I'm coming from like this really rigid place of you are not loyal and that means like death to you,
Mm,
that's not necessarily the path of growth, right? Like we just need to realize, like, okay, like people think differently and being aware of these patterns.
right, right.
And type seven, the joyful person, always optimistic and enthusiastic, never trapped or pessimistic. The world lacks a bigger plan full of possibilities. I must generate these. So the gallivanting gourmet or the discerning diner. And type seven is really about fun. Like they bring so much joy. They're usually very fun to be around, have so many different plans. And also like it's very much about wanting to try everything, right? So in a buffet, it's like, why choose one when I can have them all, right? And
Yes.
just like everything, because they want to try everything that life has to offer.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, and that's our 9 types.
Oh, and it just gets you wanting more and more. So I can't wait to hear more about this, Sarah, personally, so I can incorporate into my personal life and professional work. And we will at the end also explain how you can get in touch with Sarah if you want to do a typing session with her so you can better understand your type, but then again, peel those layers of onion back to really better understand your type and what it means and how to build that path to empowerment. But just to quickly wrap it up, I would love to hear a little bit more about like how these types impact our relationship with food. And I know you had a little bit of like a dinner party diagram to show just a glimpse of what could be going through our heads when we are placed in front of food, whether it's by ourselves or with a group of people, how these types impact our thoughts around food.
Exactly, our thoughts and our emotions. And like this is the little diagram that I'll show is really, it's one of my favorite pictures ever. But it's about how in a dinner table, we're all gonna have different narratives. And that's okay. That's part of the art of the ego. So this is the dinner party. And so these are all 9 types. So starting from type 8, we can see this guy right here. Pass it down, pass it all down here. Very, very much like the boss, right? Like the challenger. Type 9, I feel so close to everybody. And that's the one of harmony, of no conflict, of wanting unity. Type 1, not enough food groups represented here, like very perfectionist, like, no, not enough food groups here. Type 2, it's great to feel needed, like the one holding the food and giving the food, very hospitable. Type 3, I need to eat and run. I'm swamped, like business. You could see her briefcase here, ready to go. I got stuff to do.
Yep.
Um, Work is more fun than fun, Type 4, cheap caviar, shocking. Type 5, it's a talkative group. Good, that gets me off the hook, like they are also very frugal with their words.
Okay.
Um, Type 6, she's leaving early. Doesn't she like us? You know, like constantly doubting as well.
Oh,
Type 7, first I'll eat, then take some pictures, then go to my class, then always the next thing, always something else going on. So yeah, this is the amazing different parts of us that like we're all in this.
and I think it's cool that next time we challenge you guys, next time you are in a group setting, social situation where you're eating, think or recognize what's going through your head. And then maybe if you choose to dive deeper into this work and work with Sarah, you can start to piece those thoughts to your type, and better understand what it's telling you and how you can use it to, again, the best of your ability, but then also just recognize, have fun with it, be curious, be playful, recognize what thoughts come through your head next time you're at a restaurant or you're with a group of friends eating. Because this is just so interesting, because I'm always like, when I look at this dinner table, I can think of people in my life that fit each type that are at that dinner table right now. Do you know what I mean?
That's so fun.
It's so fun, but it makes so much sense. And as you can see, obviously these types impact your current state of health and nutrition and relationship with food and relationship with your body. And again, help us better truly understand why we do what we do and how to build that individual path to empowerment for ourselves, and just to stay curious and to have fun with it, and to never be critical on yourself with it. But there's so many different ways that these types can impact how we approach our nutrition, and then what tools we need to be successful depending on your type. And so that's why we wanted to introduce this topic, so that, because I think most people, I mean, and most people, I would say most of my clientele have never heard of this type of work. Maybe I'm wrong, but introduce it, because again, to stay curious of the different ways we can become more self-aware, and then definitely know that there are professionals like Sarah out there that can help you better understand this, so that you can use it as a resource, to reach that empowered self.
Mhm. Yeah, I love combining this with you here. This is so fun.
Mhm. So much fun, again, because we just want to stay curious. We want you to stay curious. And we're so good. We'll do more content on this, Sarah, in the future, and we can even dig a little bit deeper into the different types. And but we at least wanted to introduce it, and we will put Sarah's information for you to have access to. So if you want to learn more about your type and how you can utilize it through reaching your empowered self, then you'll be able to. And I guess that I want to end it with just saying, stay curious, stay playful, have fun with it all, have grace for yourself, and you'll keep succeeding from there.
Yeah, yeah. And I also want to link this to our next session, just very briefly, of how these are like the 9 types that show up on a table, and also looking at our inner table. Like this is going to be really fun for next time, because also combining that of how we're experiencing our inner table with the Enneagram, it's going to be really, really great. And just to finalize and summarize, so we can seal in like how the Enneagram relates to our relationship with food and with our bodies, just some points. So it shows us why we get in a fight or flight response and how to come back to our empowered selves simply by observing the levels of stress and what we're trying to achieve, what success means to us. So by knowing what success means to us, then we can see like what's driving that fire, like yeah, like what's fueling that fire.
Mhm.
Our emotional eating triggers, this can really help us see that, pushing ourselves to perfection and what perfection means to us, because it's going to be different for everybody. Again, it's a worldview. What exercise will inspire us rather than tire us.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Why we entertain the way that we do or we don't entertain. Where each type fails at weight loss and how we can be inspired to succeed, not fighting ourselves again into weight loss. How we view our bodies and how to come back into wholeness, which is mind body health. Our subconscious attitude to food,
Mm.
and ability to befriend ourselves rather than keep on fighting.
To love ourselves more, to better understand ourselves, Those are all such important topics in the emotional eating. I mean, levels of stress or fight or flight. These are all things that shape our reality. And most people come to me and come to Sarah too with not knowing that we need to do this work to better understand ourselves, to better love ourselves, because we cannot reach our empowered, healthiest, happiest selves by hating ourselves, by numbing ourselves, by staying on autopilot. We got to break free. We got to do the work, have fun with it, and reach that empowered state together.
Yeah. And it's so good to be on this journey with you all and with you, Gabrielle.
Yes, you too, Sarah. All right. Well, we're so excited for the next episode. And we are so grateful for every single one of you lovely humans here listening to us. And we hope you are gathering some education and tools to implement into your own life. And if anything, just becoming more and more curious and introducing yourselves to these new topics is all you can do. And then just, working through it on your own terms.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us in this virtual dinner conversation. And we will see you on the next episode of Food and Mood Talks for eating from our empowered selves.
So excited. Thank you all.